So, hello and welcome back, guys, to the Improving Season podcast. This time, once again, with me, Pascal Floor, and Steve. And it was not entirely certain whether we can record this episode. We are recording this episode on the same day of the release, simply because Steve wasn't feeling that great here last week, and it was pretty much uncertain whether we can record this episode. But here we are. Steve made it. A little bit of a disclaimer, first and foremost. It could be that at times Steve is about to cough. And if you then hear a cough and we weren't able to edit it out because, of course, we are also running late with the editing of the podcast, then totally sorry in advance. Don't bash us for the bad sound quality or something like that. It has its reasons. So, Steve, first and foremost, how are you doing overall?
So today's much better. I am on the up for sure today. Yesterday was an improvement on the worst of it as well. So that's the most encouraging thing where I wasn't sure about the timeline. Basically, actually, let me tell everyone, I have the COVID. And it's funny in some ways.
If I had time to edit the episode appropriately, I would just put some kind of horror sound underneath it all. Sorry.
In some ways, it's a bit weird because obviously this is something we've been going through for almost 2 years. So to have actually had it, I'm kind of like, it's quite nice to have actually experienced what the thing is that everyone's talking about and is worried about or what have you. So to actually have gone through it, it's made me respect it a bit more in that, it hit me and I couldn't just it wasn't just like a normal cold or what have you. It was worse than that because normally I can just brush those sort of things off, whereas I couldn't with this. So yeah, today, apart from the cough, I think my kind of body temperature is pretty normal. So I haven't got hot and cold flushes going on at all. Energy levels were way better. I feel almost normal energy wise, which is really good. Able to sleep again, which was really nice. Appetite is still pants, which I don't know if it's a good or bad thing at the moment. It's kind of just it is what it is. But yeah, apart from the cough, that's really the only thing I really feel like I have today. Probably a little bit the cough is probably then leading to a bit of shortness of breathing and stuff like that, which will be interesting. I will try and do a deload session later today, just kind of see how that goes and see how I feel. It may just bring on tons of coughs, which I imagine it could do. I'll just have to see how it goes. And I'll be deloading from behind me because that's one of the really sucky things is now I'm quarantined for the next 7 more days, which kind of sucks, especially because the weather has been pretty nice outside, but it is what it is. Yeah, should I describe what happened timeline wise? I try not go on too long about it.
Yeah, I think so. We've just joked about it off air that we completely did a 180. So 2 weeks ago, I was feeling so off, couldn't do the things, was rambling on for 45 minutes, which someone also pointed out in the comment section. And I think it's the perfect opportunity because they wanted to hear more from you. Now you can just go on a ramble. Yeah, exactly. It's now a 180 and we can actually just turn the tables around. And now it's your turn to just describe everything, what it is that you've done, Sarah. But let's take one step at a time. I would like to know what happened at first and what did you do when you felt bad? Because it has been a long time ever since you were really sick and couldn't train.
Yeah, I don't think in the whole time we've been doing the improvement season that I've missed a session due to being sick. And the whole time I've known, my whole adult life, this is probably the most sick I've been apart from my accident, which wasn't really a sickness. So this is definitely quite sick. And I think as bodybuilders, we're good at just pushing through mild sicknesses. They don't really we're just oh, I'm a bit tired today, or I didn't sleep that well last night. Oh, I've got a bit of a cough, but it's nothing that bad. I'll just push through it. We're very good at that because we're used to pushing through hard diets or overreaching weeks. We're used to feeling like shit and going through it. So when you have to take days off the gym, it's pretty bad. So yeah, basically I remember Monday was a bank holiday and I'd done work on Sunday to be able to take most of that off to be with Charlotte. And we walked quite a lot And the next day I had legs, and I was like, oh man, I woke up feeling a bit tired, a bit groggy. And I was thinking, God, did doing that 5 extra 1,000 steps make me feel that crap? And I just thought it was the extra steps I did. And I was like, maybe it did. And my leg session was hard. I was cramping in my feet. I remember on the hack squat, which I suffered quite a bit of cramping during this period of time. And little did I know that was like the first signs of probably COVID. I had a little tickle at the back of my throat, but it wasn't even causing me to cough. It was just like a bit irritating more than anything. And then Tuesday, that was Tuesday, and I didn't feel great after that session at all, and it was a grind. So actually thinking back, I'm kind of glad that it was COVID that made that session so bad, not just like, I don't know, the diet and stuff like that. And then it was Wednesday, which, I mean, I don't remember feeling too bad, but Wednesday evening, I didn't feel amazing. And then on Wednesday night, I had like the worst night's sleep of my life. Like I literally just couldn't sleep. I was just lying there. It wasn't like I was lying there coughing or hot, or it was just like, I don't know, I'd had tons of caffeine. My body was just like, you're not going to sleep. So the next day I felt pretty crap. And the kind of tickle had moved into a little bit of a cough. And so ended up getting the lateral flow rapid test done. And that came out positive. And so I then got a PCR test done the next day, which again, obviously was going to be positive because my symptoms just started building up, getting worse and worse and worse. So I got all the typical symptoms. So like the chesty cough, which kind of hurts in your like lungs, basically. You just feel like a burning sensation and painful sensation there. I had some of the kind of hot and cold flushes, bit of fever, nothing crazy on the fever front. What else was there? Taste and smell. Smell, not so much. I don't really notice smell, but taste, kind of things were metallic-y. It was a bit like food just wasn't particularly appealing. I didn't know if appetite going down was one of them, but my appetite was massively like, I just wasn't hungry, which considering I've been dieting like quite aggressively for the last 4 weeks, you'd think I might be like tempted to eat a lot, but I just had no appetite either. And the fatigue was the main one probably. I remember on Saturday, I just like literally was on the sofa like the whole day. Because I remember I essentially spoke to Pascal and just described my situation, how I was feeling. He was just like, sit down, lie down, don't move around, like try and eat around maintenance if you can. And that's essentially what I did that day. And I just ate as much as I could, which ended up being in and around my normal calories that I'd been dieting on, but that probably led to potentially a small deficit. And I took the weighted vest off, but this was one of the other, I don't know if this was like COVID or weighted vest related or what, but I had huge back pain. So like my mid back was just like really achy. And it even ached like just lying down in bed and sleeping, like it was painful, super uncomfortable. And that was so I took the weighted vest off on Saturday, and that was Saturday night. And then like a bit through Sunday, it started dissipating. And I thought it was like, because I wasn't wearing the weighted vest, I thought the muscles were now like confused, and they were like, wait, we've been compensating for the weighted vest. Now you've taken it off, so we're not compensating. And I thought they were like tight because of that. But today my back's fine. And I'm wearing the weighted vest and standing as I normally would, because I don't want to lose that routine and habit when I get back into it, because it's not a fun one to really do, and it's quite nice just to sit down and be lazy, or not lazy, but you know what I mean, like it's easier to do that than stand. So I'm so glad my back is back to normal, because I that must have been a COVID symptom, like massive just uncomfortable in my back. So yeah, massive fatigue on the Friday, Saturday. Sunday my energy levels started picking up a little bit, and today my energy levels are definitely feeling better, and my appetite's still not really present, but I wonder if that's partly related to the fact that I didn't train, obviously, and then my steps, I was somehow managing around 10,000, but I have been doing like walking on the spot quite a bit, or walking around the flat, just like watching stories on Instagram, just walking around.
Even on a Sunday. This
flat here. Yeah, I was doing it. I don't know. I just was like, you're like me though, where you need some sort of, it's very rare that like we feel better if we do something. Like I need some activity. I can't just like, completely veg out unless my body forces me to. To be
very fair, I'm now judging you and saying like, man, Steve, why didn't you rest? But to be honest, I did the same when I was having the bacterial infection. And that was like super irresponsible. Every single morning, I still went out on a walk just to also get my blood flow going, just to get, I don't know, I couldn't just lie around. I know that it was probably a better idea to just lie around, but idiots as we sometimes are, irresponsible as we sometimes are, I mean, I can't blame or judge you because I was the same. So, yeah, I have an easy time now sighing when I hear that, but at the same time, I wasn't the fucking same.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, what interests me is, so you felt the worst on a Saturday, right? Then you decided also to
Saturday or Friday.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday.
Both,
did you experience any kind of chills as well during that time?
Yeah, bit of chills. Not much. The kind of fever and chills weren't a ton.
So I'm just asking because that could have possibly also contributed to the back tightness, just because the body is then trying to contract the musculature to get the body temperature up as well. But yeah, Friday, Saturday, you felt the very worst. And then Sunday, everything has already increased or improved massively. And now what's the plan? Are you now kind of back to your normal routine? What is that you were planning and doing here for the next couple of days? I mean, you can't really go back to the gym, but have you planned on easing your way back into like training, or what's the plan now? And have you also consulted with a doctor and what to do?
No, I haven't consulted with a doctor. I know I'm not allowed to venture out of like the flat until Sunday. So like you said, I can train from home if I can. But I think in my head, I wanted to like use this as a deload. So I was like, so I didn't train from Friday. So I will like start my mesocycle back on like the Saturday or something from home. But I think that's just me being stubborn. And I think actually having the Friday, like the elongated deload is probably necessary, considering, I mean, I was already almost 4 weeks deep into a diet and hard training, which you could consider that a fine time to deload anyway. I wasn't planning to, but I mean, this forced me to. But I'm not going to have got a deload worth of recovery when for the majority of it I've been sick. So I think I'm going to have to just kind of bite the bullet, and physically I will benefit from this, and like it will benefit my overall goals. Mentally I'll struggle, but I think just deloading this whole week basically. Yeah. So if I can, I would like. Yeah, you're going to give me the thumbs up.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, if I can.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a delay, it seems like. So go ahead now.
So it's good because I need Pascal in my corner, because it was helpful on the Saturday when you just messaged me like, right, do this. Because at that time I was like standing with my weighted vest on, like being really stubborn. And then you told me and I was like, fuck it, taking the vest off, lying down on the couch, man. I felt so much better when you just sent me that, because I'll grind myself into the dirt, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can get some light deload sessions in this week. And like today I'll do very light, and then hopefully like get them a bit more towards the end of the week so I can come into a mesocycle feeling pretty good again. And I hope towards some point, like maybe towards the end, I can have a couple of days of just more food, like actually at real maintenance, because I think I'll be I think that'll be a very good thing to do, especially the amount of time that I won't have been training properly for, just to even kind of, I guess, prevent any muscle loss or anything like that. But my appetite's just not there, and I don't want to force feed. I think I said to you, that I was like trying to eat my Greek yogurt last night before bed, and I was halfway through. I was like, I can't, like without force feeding, like as if I'm in a mass phase and I'm super like massed out. I can't finish this. So I just put it back in the fridge. I was like, I'm not eating that. I'm going to bed.
It's so weird, Steve, because so many of the things that you've talked about, they remind me so much of what I went through 3 weeks ago, where I was having massive issues in actually eating something. I couldn't train. I was physically not able and capable of training, was trying my very best to get onto my calories, and that something similar happens to you, which is, of course, different conditions due to now you having caught the COVID virus. It's a little bit different, but in the way that you had to do things, it was kind of similar. And it's so funny because we've been doing this improvement season now since 4 years. And it's the first time that we go through something like this. And both are experiencing kind of the same challenges that they have to overcome. Something like, for example, that you can't really get onto your calories for the day. Physically, you're not able to train, even though that you would like to, of course, but also at the same time, you have to act responsible. And it's sad but funny, especially because now you are in a contest prep, which brings me kind of to the next question then. Now, you raised some concerns in the past that formerly you've always done longer preps. Now, this time you decided for a shorter prepping period, and you are already concerned about whether this is enough time. Now, unfortunately, something got in your way that then took away already at the beginning, like 1 to 2 weeks of that contest prep, right? How do you feel about it? Have you given it a little bit of thought, and what changes now for you, if anything changes?
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of the Revive Stronger member site. Inside you'll find a thriving forum, a growing exercise library, presentations, research reviews, and courses. If you want to get involved, sign up via the description.
So I think it would be an easy kind of out in a way where I could look at it and be like, oh yeah, I mean, I didn't give myself extra time really. Like I already gave myself a timeline where I wasn't really giving myself extra weeks and buffer like I normally do, and end up getting ready too early, which I guess is a lesson in its own right, because maybe it's always worth having a little bit of that versus none. And I'm not saying I have absolutely none. It's a tighter timeline. But I think in reality, I'm going to be all right. I don't think this is going to really have set me back. I think I have been on track. I think if I need to step up a gear a little bit into the next fat loss period, I can. I still feel like good to be able to do that. So as long as I recover from this, like fingers crossed, as I am, and there's no kind of long-term kind of concerns or worries like that, I think I'll be absolutely fine. I don't think it will stop me competing this year at all. It's just more of a bump in the road and a little bit annoying and unfortunate, but I think I'll be all right. And in fact, if looking at my timeline, actually my mesocycle's mapped out probably a bit better in terms of where my deloads landed for peak weeks now, because I think I was needing to move it kind of forwards 1 week anyway in reality. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it will be a problem. I think it will be all right.
That's cool. When you saw the positive results on the test, what was your first thought?
I was just like, I knew it. I don't know why. For these sort of things, I'm always like, kind of think the worst. I'm just like, it's going to come out positive. It's just going to be a joke. It's going to come out positive. So I just wasn't surprised. It's just like, kind of is what it is. I was hoping though, because you hear people talk about how COVID isn't a problem and how when you're younger, like, oh, you just brush it off or what have you. So I was kind of hoping, oh yeah, I'll feel all right, like over the weekend, and I'll do my 2 last sessions of this like microcycle, and then I'll deload for a week, and it'll like my timeline will pretty much be intact. And I mean, I'm close to that, but there was just no way I could train over the weekend because it wasn't a walk in the park to be able to kind of get through it. So yeah, I think it will just, the good news is though, is I'll now have, I guess, what's it called? Immunity from COVID. Yeah. And I can be very confident that I'm not going to catch it in the meantime in the gym. Whereas even if I'd had the vaccine for like 2 weeks or something, or even just had one vaccine, I could still be at risk getting it, especially with the Delta Indian variant. So it's kind of good that and you said this to me, and at the time I didn't appreciate it, but now I'm talking through it. You said it's good it's happened now versus it could have happened later on. And it easily could have. It could happen to people who have had, like I just said, with even one vaccine. So yeah, it could be a blessing in disguise in some ways. Yeah. So yeah, I think like I said, I don't think it's going to stop me competing. I think it was just part of the process. And this is why you have to be adaptable and not kind of stress extra about these sort of events. I don't know what it will mean in terms of like my body weight. I've now come down to an average of like, I lost like 2.5 pounds this last week. again, I had that like crazy low weigh-in of like 184 pounds, which is 4 pounds down from like the start of the week. But I think that was just like bad data due to kind of fluid losses and things like this. So I think it's hard to judge because I don't know how much it's impacted my appetite. But if I'm eating to easily fullness, getting plenty of protein, like even if I'm in a very small deficit, I don't think I'm causing myself any problems this week. And I think if I'm having kind of a week and a half deload almost, I should feel really good to go for the next mesocycle. So I think after a couple of weeks into that, I think I'll be all right. And I think I'll be right back where I should be. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a silver lining there. You said it yourself. That you caught it now is much, much better than at the end of the contest prep, maybe, or in the midst of the contest prep. Perhaps there was also that you were in week number 4 of the mesocycle, you've been quite aggressive in regards to your caloric deficit, that then you were just a little bit more susceptible to the symptoms and the way you've experienced it now. But at the same time, once again, it is still the beginning of the contest prep, which then allows you to make quick adjustments and even gives you the opportunity of pushing a little bit harder if now necessary, right? And also the good thing is, I don't know how the legal situation is in the UK, but I think it's very much the same all across Europe. But with a PCR test, this acts now like a negative test for you. So when you are then about to compete, I don't even think that you then need to be fully vaccinated. And you can just show that. Yeah. And so it needs to be to a maximum up to 6 months. Do you need to have a PCR test that was positive? And then that acts like a negative result.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, that is also kind of a silver lining. So you can actually show this as a proof now for then the later shows, and you don't need to rush in getting any kind of vaccine if that is necessary. I know that some shows, it's not, you just need to show like a negative test result. But yeah, there's kind of a silver lining as well in that as well. So no, I'm very, very happy to hear that you're now already improving and that you're feeling better. And now it's just like getting back to work, right? And I think it speaks for itself and for you, how you handled the entire situation of like still very much focused, very much dedicated, very much saying like, okay, this is just like a small blip. And then I will just get back on track. And if I have to push harder, I need to push harder. And then I will still make it to stage.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. And the only other additional kind of quirk of this whole thing is Charlotte. She has tested negative. So she hasn't got it. Even the day that I tested positive, we kissed, not thinking about it because she hadn't done her test yet. And then the next day she did her test. And it was negative. She's shown no symptoms. So it's just now we're sleeping in separate beds, separate bathrooms, and trying to keep our distance. Kind of sucks. But
has she ever made a PCR test?
So she's doing that today. Because for some reason, we have to like post it to the post box, but they're closed on a Sunday, so they're not going to receive it in time. So she had to delay it to today. But she did the lateral flow test, came negative, which obviously they're not particularly validated that well. But yeah, I'll be surprised if hers comes out positive just because she's showing like she's fine. So she's just got a tank immune system or something.
I would also be very surprised if it turns out to have been positive in the past, kind of because it can then show like if you have like, I don't know if she's doing an antibody test or so that the results then come back positive, that you had it in the past. But then it would be also, on a contrarian perspective, weird that you didn't catch it in the past, right? But no, in all honesty, let's just hope for the best now. Let's hope that nothing detrimental or kind of long-lasting detrimental effects are taking place here for you over the next couple of weeks. And that you can just like go back to normal and just brush it off as if hopefully nothing really happened, right? So.
Yeah, you probably know what it's like though, where it made me appreciate again, I don't know how good health is. Like for you right now, I know you said you're feeling great and it's just like, man, you know what bad can feel like. So really enjoy the good. And it just takes, and it's hard once you're slowly getting better. Also, I'm going to struggle not to go that step too far and take it too far. So yeah, How have things been for you though? I know you're back into the gym. You're excited to be back in training.
Yeah, I've done now a couple of sessions. Yeah, I think, what was it? 4 sessions or so. And it's very good to be back, to be honest. Like, very, very good to be back. No, 3 sessions. 1 I still did at home. No, but it changes everything. There's no other way in putting it, especially because I was going through something similar, such as you, just like 2-3 weeks back, where I felt terrible. This, and then conjunction with now being able to go back to the gym, which every listener should be aware of, had a huge negative impact on my mental health as well. So mental health improvement due to now being back at the gym, and physical health improvement because I felt terrible like 3 weeks ago. So basically it's now everything feels great again. And because of that, I'm feeling absolutely great, to be honest. It's like, it's hard to describe, but it's like when your physical and also mental health suffered for a longer period of time, and then you come out of it, then everything just seems so much brighter. It's like you just said, you start to appreciate things so much more when you feel great, you feel healthy, you feel mentally healthy as well. And this is where I'm right now at. And I'm just hoping that things will finally just continue the way that they are right now. And this was basically the spot where I was like nearly this exact time like last year when the gyms reopened for the first time. And I had the greatest gaining phase ever. And right now I'm cutting just because I talked about it here in the last episode as well, because in regards to health, this all keeps things in perspective, right? Or puts things in perspective. And I was just like, I need to cut anyway, right? Or continue. I had like this phase where I was just like, yeah, cutting here and there. But now I just want to get rid of a little bit of body fat, put myself into a better position, also from a health perspective. And yeah, and then we will see, right? But I think it's the perfect opportunity. Normally, I was always gaining throughout the summertime and cutting in the wintertime. And I always find, though, that it should be the other way around, at least for the person that I am, because when the weather is great outside, I tend to move way more. And also because it's warmer, I tend to eat less. And because I'm moving more, I'm also less susceptible in eating anyway, because you're busy all the time. So you're basically hitting 2 to 3 birds with one stone. And this is where I'm at right now, feeling good. Hopefully this stays that way for a longer period of time so that I'm not, again, getting blind or so. And yeah, I mean, hopefully I can ride that wave of momentum for a longer period of time now. Let's hope for the best. I'm laughing a little bit because, I mean, the past couple of months have been so fucked up. So I wouldn't be surprised if something else happens. But yeah, here we are.
It's like with COVID, I'd kind of forgotten about it. Not forgotten about it, but it was kind of like, because so many things in the UK were getting back to normal. I was telling you, I was wearing my mask like within the areas that you were meant to during the gym, and people just were not caring. And I don't know, you just see people doing stuff, you're like, man, everyone's just not like it kind of feels like it's not a thing anymore. And then it hit me. So yeah, I guess it's just a reminder that not everything can be taken away from you, but these things can change like very, very quickly. But it's super cool to hear that you're in such a good place. And I know everyone listening is going to be like, finally, Pascal's in like a really good place. It's great to hear. So it's very, very pleasing to know. And in terms of your diet, I know when we spoke last time, you were taking quite a relaxed approach, where if you wanted to have sushi with Katie, you would do, and it's just like you weren't formally tracking as strictly as previously. Is that how you're still going, or have you decided you're upping it because you're like, I'm feeling like motivated to do so?
I take the middle approach, I would say. I'm still very, very, very calm about it. I'm not stressed about it. I want to bring my body fat levels down. And this is something that I've even thought about, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, when I made the dishes. I was just thinking like, okay, the thing is, what experience gives you is flexibility and also an ease of mind, because I could easily be dieting without tracking things just from previous attempts, because I know how to eat and what to eat in order to be in a sufficient caloric deficit, and I don't need the scale to tell me that. And it's crazy. I never would have thought that this can actually be the case. I do vividly remember that in the past we've talked about I think Manu Hanselman, when he did his contest prep, that he didn't track and all that kind of stuff. And we were just like, don't know. Of course, it is probably possible for some people, but for the majority of people, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm still standing by that viewpoint. I wouldn't recommend it for the majority of people, especially in a contest prep. But I never would have thought that it can actually be relatively easy to lose body fat to a substantial level, probably without tracking things, just due to previous attempts of dieting, successful attempts, of course, right? And previous experiences that you've gained throughout your entire journey, because you now know what should I eat, how much should I eat, how many steps should I be taking. For me personally, I'm always walking the same route here around the block, right? So I know how many steps I usually get in throughout the day. So as you can tell, it's still relatively flexible, but a little bit more on point, where I'm saying, like, I'm not easily giving into like, okay, I want to have more food here today. No, right? So far, I haven't done any kind of refeeds or so. And before that, it was more like, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit hungrier, so let's go for it, right? And now I'm just like, okay, sticking with that, because why not, right? So that is the approach I'm taking. Still, I just want to be very clear. This is not the way that I would do things with like 95, perhaps even 98% of the people I'm working with, because I like to have control over the most variables. And the vast majority of people haven't done these things long enough and successfully enough to then be in a position where they can approach it in that way. But if you can, it can actually be quite freeing. But that doesn't mean that tracking things is restrictive also. I think it's making use of a tool so that you have full control over everything. And I'm more of a proponent of full control than just winging it. The way that I do it right now is because I have no deadline. I mean, right now, there's no stress in the back of my mind. Really, I'm doing the same thing each and every single day. And that's why I think I can get away with that, but this isn't how I would usually do a cutting phase. I just want to be very clear so that people don't misunderstand what I'm saying and what I stand for in that sense.
I analogize it like a journey somewhere. If you've traveled this journey multiple times, you know it like the back of your hand. You could travel there without a map or a sat nav. It's very similar. Like, you just are an expert at that journey, so now you can travel it without the need of kind of these guidelines. But if there's a bump in the road, or I don't know, a road isn't available or whatever, if something changes, a variable changes, because life doesn't stay in a vacuum for everyone, although your life is quite a vacuum-like, which makes this work. But because life is in a vacuum, as a coach, it's good to have this data so you can maneuver and keep your client. And for our clients, it's all about, they want results like efficiently, because they don't want to pay you to get somewhere that could take like 6 months and you take 2 years, because you're like, don't track, just kind of play it like this. And it's just like, it's going to be really difficult to get to that end destination. Totally. Whereas when you have those guidelines there, it's much more efficient for a lot of people. But for you, it's like you just explained, you gave all the caveats. So that's good.
No, I love this analogy, because I'm just thinking, I'm living now in Berlin since over 12 years. I can't find around without a map. Sometimes, though, I need Google Maps to find the most, the quickest way to my desired destination. If I'm not in a rush, I can probably get there, but probably not in the most efficient manner. And it could be that I'm getting to a road blockage or so. that I wasn't aware of because I don't have the map open, right? But Google Maps would tell me. So I love that analogy because it really hits home. And this is exactly how it is at the moment. So yeah.
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
Cool. And then in terms of your training, I know you said you were going to kind of ease yourself back in. Have you been doing that? How's that been feeling? I feel like you haven't been from that smile.
I mean, it's kind of the same with you, right? Once you feel better, you already throw everything overboard that you set for yourself, kind of. And this is why having a coach by your side at times is so freaking valuable, because he keeps you accountable, right? And you know, like, I should rather listen to that because I was just going in there, and because I was missing the gym so much, I was maybe pushing it a little bit harder than I should have. So I was quite fortunate because I feel good, but it could have ended up much, much worse, right? I still don't know what my liver values are right now. So it could be that I'm just prolonging the entire thing, that I'm causing too much stress in my system still. But I went in there and just did a week number 1 of my program, of my new mesocycle. And it was all right. I wasn't super sore, which is great. And probably also because I now had a decent amount of equipment at home. So it's not leaving you crippling sore moving into the gym. But I was actually quite surprised and somewhat depressed that my lower body movements actually very much decreased in performance. Especially like the knee flexion movements, such as squatting movements, leg press, and all that kind of stuff. Pulling, I couldn't really tell because the first session I forgotten my straps, so I couldn't really do SLDLs, unfortunately. But this is something that we'll do very soon. But yeah, the knee flexion movements took a beating, unfortunately. Upper body movements, actually absolutely fine. But yeah, this is where I'm at right now, and now it is kind of easing into things because I started with 4 and 3 ARIA, but it's of course not easing into the things as I anticipated and doing. Where I said like I triggered more like a deload. That was not the case, to be honest. I think I was just too excited to do that.
I can't blame you. I probably would have done. I would have done the exact same thing. There's
I
no way I would have done it.
This will be probably the same for you once you're able then to go back up, right?
I'm not even going to try and say that I'm going to go lighter than I'm going to start like a week 1 once I can.
By the way,
are
you still doing like twice daily training right now? And are you planning throughout the contest prep of either reducing it, or what is it that you are planning in that regard?
So obviously until I was sick, I was doing it. So that I do it 5 days of the week. So midweek I do it because it's a nice way to just accrue more steps comfortably, and it works within kind of my schedule. As you know, sometimes it is just a bit like, man, I kind of would have liked to have just done that all in one. And I will do it all in one if like I need to, me and Charlotte like viewing a house or something in the evening, and I need to kind of be a bit more efficient with my time. I'll do that. On Saturdays, I do it all in one in the morning, so then I have most of the weekend free. So at the moment, 5 of my sessions are split AM and PM. One of them is just a single session. Are you're still single sessions?
Yeah, but especially for the lower body days, I'm once again very much considering going back to twice a day training, because especially for the lower body days, it's just so much more productive. The other body parts, so when you're having somewhat of an emphasis, right? Quad emphasis, first movers, quad base movements, and then second part hamstring, and then vice versa. I feel like the other body part is suffering big time from the quality and what it is that you can bring to then the gym. And that's where I was just like considering, okay, at least this I need to reconsider of getting back to the gym like twice. Maybe I don't need it for the first day where I'm doing like quad based movement, because right now the way I have it is only leg curls, and that could work out well. This is also how I do it with the majority of my athletes, only like a very, very light lighter form of a hamstring movement in the first session, and then the next session, more emphasis on the hamstrings because the hamstrings need so much more time to recover. This is what I'm considering and doing. But then especially for the second one, because my quads need way more work, if I'm then doing something like an SLDL followed by leg curls, and then also doing somewhat of leg presses followed by, I don't know, split squats or leg extensions, and then on top of it all, calves and ab work, especially in those sessions, it's very, very tough.
It's so funny you brought this up, because at the moment, I'm actually I am doing AM and PM on leg days, but I'm not splitting up hamstrings and quads like I used to.
Okay.
It works really fine for the day that I'm emphasizing quads. All I do is I do leg curls first, and then I do my quad movements. And it's like, that was nice. But when I do my hamstring focus day and I do my the hip hinge, then the leg curls, then like a hack squat, and then like a leg extension, by the end of that session, I am fucked. So that's one I might change and split my hamstrings AM, quads PM, because just like you described. So it's funny that you've said the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, once again, this is one of the things that we haven't really talked about offline, where now we are talking about it here on the Improving Season podcast, where we came to the same kind of conclusion without having talked it through, just by experience and just by doing it and figuring out what works best for us. And I think this is great, actually.
I wish you could do I don't know, I could just do maybe a hip hinge and then like a leg press, and that would be my like quad hamstring dominant day. But like you, both my muscle groups can take more than that. And so that session ends up becoming a marathon if you try and do it all in one.
Steve, this brings me to another point, and this is something that we then can also end the show on. Right now, I've downloaded Total Recall, so the biography of Arnold Schwarzenegger, over on Audible. I'm listening to that one. It's very, very cool. Very, very cool. He is living a very interesting life, and his past is also quite interesting. Of course, like those biographies are always kind of probably some things have been added to it to make it a little bit more exciting than it actually was, but still, I think the majority of things took probably place. Thing is, though, one thing that he's talking about, and I would like to hear your take on it, is that the majority of athletes from the golden era, they've worked out like 3 to 5 to 6 hours per day. And I have no idea about IFBB pros nowadays, what their routine looks like on a daily basis, how they are training, and all that kind of stuff. Have you any kind of information on that? Like, I don't know, a big Rami or whoever, right? Just pick a name. How they are training nowadays. Are they doing something similar because they are professional bodybuilders? Are they just dedicating the entire training or day to training and just eating and resting? And also, do you think that it's just overstated that they did actually train five hours per day, or it was more like, okay, we train 2 hours, but we spend 5 hours at the gym, and also just for the book to make it sound like hardcore and stuff?
Yeah, I think I probably don't have much more thoughts on it than you do, but I would have thought they're not training for that amount of time when they're there, but they're spending, from what I've seen about the golden era, they would like, the gym was like a second home. They would just all hang out there. They'd eat there. They'd chat there. They'd joke. Like they would just live in the gym and they do a lot, but I think their session lengths were probably longer than they needed to be. And they certainly weren't training for like 6 hours. I just can't imagine that they were actually doing that. Maybe they were. The guys, how they train now, again, I don't really have much insight into that apart from talking to someone like Matt Jansen and seeing how his guys train. And I know he's a fan of the lower volumes, higher intensities, with excellent technique, that sort of thing. And then obviously, I don't know how many people like Jordan Peters trains, but JP, and how they train. But like someone like, you just hear stories. That's the thing. unless you actually talk to that person like face to face and you actually see them write out their program. Then, because sometimes they say, yeah, I do one set, and then you look at it and you're like, but you did 4 like really hard sets before that one like all out set. So maybe like it's hard to get a full understanding of what someone's doing. So I'm pretty clueless to how those guys do stuff.
Yeah, I was just, when I listened to that, I was just, wow, all right. What does that mean? Did you train actually for 5 hours? And if so, was it just like back in the days that you thought that this is what's necessary, which then would mean they had amazing builds, right? Of course, not to the same conditioning like nowadays, but still, I mean, just take a look at the chest and the arms that they had. Amazing. Most of the people from the golden era had amazing chest development, right? And then it brings me to the next point that you brought up as well. Most of the time, you just hear stories, and you don't know whether this is just an excerpt of like one mesocycle that they've been doing, and the entire other years that they've been training for, it was completely different. And it's so funny when people are then fighting online of like, Dorian Yates did that, or whoever, or like Jay Cutler never trained to for a year or so, right? How should we really know? Only because they state something at one point doesn't mean that this is what their entire program looked like. And we haven't programmed for them and all that kind of stuff. We haven't trained with them, right? So it's all stories, and sometimes you simply don't know what has been added there just to make it sound a little bit more fancy, a little bit more hardcore. And even those psychological games that Arnold was playing, you don't know how many people have been doing that when they were in the best shape, just to throw the other competitors off, saying like, hey, I always train to failure. And then the other people are doing that and are getting maybe injured or so, and they are out, right? So I'm just wondering, like, how much can we actually then take for granted when it comes to those things? But at the same time, I'm finding myself and being like, 5 hours. Is that what was missing the entire time from my training? Right? So you're always starting then to question, and yeah, you just look around and find the answer and the solution all the time, and yeah.
It's one of those, it just screams why like anecdote is such a poor form of evidence. Like just hearing someone talk about what they used to do or whatever, like it's just, you just can't take much from that, because different people interpret different things as well. Like, I don't know, one person's failure is another person's, like, I don't know, 5 reps beyond failure, just because of, I don't know, technique breakdown or whatever. I don't know. So, or someone's warm-up set is someone's like working set. It's challenging to actually identify what people actually did in the past. And for us, I don't even know how relevant it even is when all these guys are on, I don't know, how much gear or how much good genetics, probably a lot of both.
True. No, absolutely. Yeah, I just found it interesting. But yeah, let's call it quit here.
I imagine that book's good though.
It is very, very cool so far. Like one of the audiobooks that you can just like listen through, and it's cool. It's a very, very interesting life if that really took place the way that it did, which I very much assume, at least very, very similar to how he describes it. And it's cool. It's a very, very good listen, to be honest. So I would recommend that. But yeah, let's call it quit here so that you have a little bit more time to recover as well, and I can actually start editing it so that it can go live here tonight. What I would like to know this time from the audience is, so we're not going to do a giveaway this time, but next time, is a golden era. Like, what do you think about the amount of training that they did? Do you have any kind of insight? Do you know anything about it? Have they trained like 5 or 6 hours? Put it into the comment section below. Let us know what you think about the entire spiel, whether this is actually like real. I don't know. There's something that I would be very curious about, because there could be some people listening who have way more knowledge about the golden era, because it's also kind of a nostalgic period in the bodybuilding era, right? So also, people remember, the comment section is there to ask the questions for the next improvement season podcast. So it would be highly appreciated if you put actually questions down in the comment section below. Otherwise, we need to revert back to Facebook and ask the questions there and collect collect the questions there and bring it up here on the improvement season podcast. But of course, we would love it to just read it out loudly from the listeners who engage with us here as well. So yeah, any last words, Steve?
No, just if you're listening to this not on YouTube, then unfortunately you will have to find us on YouTube and comment there. Hopefully that's not too much of a pain for you. And yeah, hopefully if anyone has questions, if they, I don't know, concerns about anything we spoke about in terms of like COVID and stuff, feel free to drop me a message. I'm happy to talk through anything. I know it's kind of a current affairs thing, so people are interested in that sort of stuff or worried. And yeah, hopefully that was some good takeaways for people, and I'm glad that I'm feeling better, and hopefully next time you hear me, I'll be back in like a fat loss phase actually.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment in the comment section below. It's always appreciated and helps with the algorithm. So without further ado, I guess we will speak to each other next week. Cheers. Bye.
So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.